Welcome to Tampa 2, a weekly Bucs video series where we go over all the news and everything Tampa Bay football. I'm Sean, this is Matt, and we're two Bucs fans from upstate New York who, just want to get on here weekly and kind of go over how our Tampa Bay Bucs are doing. How you doing, Matt?
Doing well. How you doing? It's been a crazy 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah, you could say that. It's been a kind of a wild ride for us Bucs fans, and I guess we'll get right into that. It's kind of the topic for this week's episode. What's your reaction to Tom retiring?
See, I'm still in this I think pre-shock phase, and I think the reason for it is that I'm still not. Even though yes, we won the Super Bowl last year and he came in, we've had him for 2 years. It still really hasn't hit me yet that Tom Brady was even the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first place. So when the whole roller coaster of seeing the retirement news and all these guys reaching out to him, Edelman, really believing that it's true. And then it goes one way, it comes back the other. And now it's official that he's gone. It's just it just feels weird because it's a guy who led the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns this past season. And we were right there again this year. And now he's walking away and we're in a situation where we don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, it's just I remember how shocked we even last year we won the Super Bowl and we're just I still can't believe Tom Brady's our quarterback. And now it's just nope, gone. That's it.
Yeah. And the thing is that even when we brought him in, I thought, okay, we're gonna have him obviously for 1 year, hopeful for 2. We come out, we win the Super Bowl. It's a great year. He stays relatively healthy. He has the minor knee injury, but he gets cleaned up in the offseason. He restructures, which I know part of that was to free up some cap space to re-sign some guys and make those moves 100%. But it seemed like everything was going so well in Tampa Bay. He really wanted to add another year on top of it because of the Bucs roster, the defense, all these other factors. And then he comes out and he's having a great year. Like I said, he leads the league in passing yards and touchdowns. The year comes up short, not what we expected, but still we were one play away from, going to overtime against the team who ends up winning the conference. So for him to walk away, it was wow, because that second and third year just vanished right there. It's just yeah.
And I guess I don't know, the success happened so quickly with him when it came in, winning year one. I could would you think it would feel a lot different right now if he kind of the first year switch years? So year 2 we win the Super Bowl, year 1 it's this year where you get close, have some success, but don't make it all the way. I feel the fact that he won so quickly, that's what makes it even more shocking. It's damn, we instantly became arguably the best team in the NFL. We're the best team in the NFL last year. And it's now it's gone. Now that's over. It could have been a 3 or 4 year run, dynasty kind of thing. But if he came in for 4 years and won in his third year, it almost I don't know. It's almost same thing where it's just a huge spurt of success in being great. Now it's just gone.
100%. Like you said, it's even him deciding in Tampa Bay was a shock in and of itself. Oh my gosh, we have Tom Brady now. And then, like you said, you go in, and of course, whenever Tom Brady's on your team, the expectation is Super Bowl because that's what the guy does. But for us to go out and actually win a Super Bowl during this crazy COVID year in Tampa Bay, almost a written story for it to happen. It's another shock, holy crap, we just did what was the unexpected. It 100%, it made it feel like the first year was so crazy and so many fireworks that it just felt all right, well, now we have at least 2-3 more years of it because the first year was so great. Why would he walk away? It's a great situation. And then, just like that, he's walking off the field in Tampa. We lose to the Rams and people are talking about, oh, is it Brady's last game? It is the last thing I thought was Tom Brady's walking off this field for the last time. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it when it first came out, the news. And obviously I believe it now because Tom Brady's the one posting about it, but it's just still it's just shocking because I think the whole Brady experience has been an absolute shock from start to finish.
Yeah, that whole thing sucked. Where it's like Schefter, like, oh no, he's wrong. Like, well, Schefter comes out, you automatically think it's like spot on news. Then the reports start coming out that it's wrong. His dad's out here saying no, he's not retired, and it's like, oh nope, there's hope now. Like, no way, Tom Brady. Like, he's gonna be pissed off. He's gonna not retire just to spite the media, and kind of got the hopes up again, and then just rip the hearts out again with that Instagram post. But
And that's the thing, when it first started and the news first broke, you see guys like Schefter, like when they put stuff out there, they typically don't miss. So when you see those names kind of swinging that sword saying, hey, this is the news, you believe it. And then when it slowly started to come out that Arians had no idea of it, Jason Light had no idea of it, the Bucs organization had no idea, it felt strange, because why on Tom Brady's last leg of his career, his last step out, he would just blindside the organization that he just played for the last 2 years. He chose in free agent. It just didn't make any sense. And that moment just gave me hope. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a blown coverage by Schefter. It is unbelievable. And then everything's being retracted, all this stuff. And then you come to the realization that, like I said from the beginning, Schefter and these guys don't miss. You know what I mean? He got information that was true, but he jumped the gun on it. And Brady had to talk to the people he had to talk to in those couple hours from in all the retraction. And then he comes out and kind of puts the nail in the coffin, which is it was just a wild 48 to 72 hours for the greatest football player of all time to end his career.
Yeah. And, so I guess moving forward with the Bucs, the only thing that we can hope is obviously that we get a good replacement, but that culture that he brought to Tampa is going to kind of stay, and the leaders there now will kind of continue what he brought in. And because just that the locker room presence and culture, you could tell changed instantly when he gets there. And everyone talks about that. Any interview you hear with a Bucs player, it somehow brings up how crazy it is to play with Tom Brady, the leadership impact that he has on the entire team, people who work in the locker room, to the concession stands people, just everyone. So you got to hope that kind of stays. And we still have a young defense, still have a young flying around defense, still got all the weapons in the world, hopefully. But so as long as we can get somebody who can just fill those shoes a little bit, we should be still one of those top teams and the playoff contention every year. So that brings us to obviously what comes next. Who are you getting next year? Who's going to be starting week 1 for us?
So I think there's really two avenues to go here, right? You look at the Bucs roster, and still I think it's one of the best rosters in the NFL. Granted, yeah, we're coming to a situation where we have a lot of guys playing on 1-year deals. Some of them are towards maybe the end of their careers, or are going to be looking for a little bit more money at the end of their career. Some established guys. So we have the roster to win in the next 1 to 2 years. We can make it work with cap. You look at the NFL every year, someone is in. The Rams were this team last year. This last offseason, the Rams were in cap space hell. And look what the things that they've done in the offseason, during the season, to bring guys in. It's possible. So I think that Jason Light and Bruce Arians are going to go full force at an established veteran quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is a name that gets thrown around out there. I don't know if that situation works, but guys like Russell Wilson, Derek Carr in Las Vegas, depending on what the situation happens there, those I think are great avenues that I think we could go. Of course, 2 of those guys are top of the food chain at the quarterback position. Yeah. Derek Carr is, I think, a top 10 guy. And then the second avenue I think you can go is you roll with a guy like Kyle Trask you just brought in, who has sat behind Brady. And maybe with that avenue, you also draft a guy. You know what I mean? You draft maybe a Sam Howell or someone, and you have those 2 guys compete and say, hey, we're going to have a young, hungry competition with this great roster around us and still try and go and win football games. So I think those are the 2 paths, clear, very different paths. And I don't know which one's the right way, but I think it's going to be a crazy, crazy offseason for us.
Yeah, the Trask situation is very interesting, because we rarely got to see him, if ever, since obviously we had a lot of close games. So Tom didn't really come out of the games much, and Gabbert kind of only went in for the kneel downs and the few blowouts we had this year.
And
So-
even in preseason stuff,
Yeah.
you saw Gabbert spelled by Ryan Griffin and then Kyle Trask. So even in preseason time, it was very limited, and that's in the first couple months of him being a professional quarterback. So like you said, there's not a lot professional film on him.
But he's obviously somebody who, if you watched that last season at Florida, I mean, he was Heisman contender, almost front runner the entire year until LSU, kind of until they played LSU, and which was a close. He put up numbers against them too. So some guy who definitely has talent, and hopefully he's been soaking it in for the last year, being back there behind Brady. But like you said, the other guys like Rodgers, I mean, that would be incredible. I don't think he's leaving Packers, but I mean, that would just be like striking lightning twice. Wilson, that'd be interesting, because a guy who's, I mean, he's been one of those top 3 guys, MVP candidates every year. Did he have the greatest year this year? Not really. Kind of came back a little bit, but we have that. Give him an offensive line, something he hasn't really had in a long time. Obviously,
And that's the thing, and we still have the major weapons that we talk about. I mean, potential to lose a guy like Gronk and some other weapons on offense, but we're still gonna have Mike Evans. I'd be surprised if the Bucs let a guy like Godwin slip through their fingers. They should pay him what he wants, and I think the Bucs believe the same way because of what his product is when he's healthy. Hell, what his product is when he's hurt. I mean, last year he battled injury all year long, and granted, outside of some drops, he was still Chris Godwin making huge plays for us over the middle of the field. But 100%, I think the quarterback position is the key in the NFL, no matter how great your defense is. The Rams are, again, a perfect example of it. Last year, they had the best defense in the NFL, and they lost in the divisional round on the road to the Packers. This year, their defense is probably maybe on paper a little bit worse. But they bring in Matt Stafford and they're playing the Super Bowl just like we did with Tom Brady. So I would be surprised if we don't really push hard for one of those big fish, especially like I know we talked about a little bit with Derek Carr. The situation in Vegas, they're bringing in a new GM, they're bringing in a new head coach. I think Derek Carr is a solid quarterback, but not all people feel that way. So if they don't feel that way, the McDaniels and those guys coming in, he might be on the market too, which again, I think that a Russell Wilson or Derek Carr would be more realistic than an Aaron Rodgers at this point.
Agreed. And it's just that, like you said, we're not in a position where we want to wait for a rebuild. Like Trask could be amazing, could not be. Do we want to wait to see that? Or again, we need to use this. We have the roster now that we need to take advantage of, because it's not going to last forever. Like you see in the NFL, teams go up and down all the time.
Right.
Yeah, so this is going to be exciting. Like we said, a lot of people that we potentially have to sign in this offseason. We'll talk more about that next week, but yeah, this is going to be an exciting offseason. Probably the second most exciting offseason we've had since signing Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever have an offseason as exciting as that, but
well, honestly, and it's kind of like what we said in the beginning with signing Tom. It was kind of a shock from the beginning. But you talk about off seasons, it's been the same way. We start with the Brady off season. Even last off season, we won the Super Bowl. You're coming off that rush in the high, and the Bucs still did something last off season that no one has ever done. We returned all 22 starters. Absolutely unbelievable. And now this off season, we're going to do something that, I mean, I guess the Patriots did it, but we're going to have to replace the shoes of Tom Brady, the greatest to ever do it, while at the same time holding that level of standard that he has brought to Tampa Bay and keeping that momentum going, because we know all too well what it feels like at the bottom. And we don't want to go back. So
we don't want to go back to the Bruce Grodkowski years.
Yeah, don't need it. Don't want it.
So maybe to finish off this show, obviously there's a big game coming in 2 weeks. What are your not Bucs stuff, but what are your feelings on the Super Bowl? Who do you got going into this?
I think the Rams. I think it's going to be a weird flashback, honestly, to the last Super Bowl. The way the Bucs got after Patrick Mahomes and that kind of beat up offensive line of of the Chiefs, I think it's going to be very similar. Aaron Donald is a dude, even against the best offensive lines in the NFL. He wreaks havoc. I think the Bengals are an absolute Cinderella story. They're the hottest team right now outside of probably the team that the Rams just beat, the 49ers. And I love Joe Burrow. I love what they're doing. It's an electric factory, but I think the Rams are just too much right now, and they're just on an absolute warpath with the weapons they have offensively, defensively. McVay, it just feels like it's going to be them all the way.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rams defensive line is going to absolutely eat up that Bengals O line. And I think the NFC kind of is a different type of ball this year. It's more physical. There's more just the teams at the top. I think the Packers, the Bucs, the 49ers is just a different level of ball this year. And even like a team like the Titans, who have a good defense, they kind of shut down the Bengals. Like, that wasn't a high scoring game. And so I think the Rams are going to have their way on defense against them. And then, I mean, they're just a juggernaut on offense right now. There's no stopping Cooper Kupp, as we know, unfortunately.
Right. And even Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, you want to talk about the Rams? That's a team that when Robert Woods goes down midway through the season, I thought that was a potential serious setback for that team, and they were stumbling middle of the year. They bring in Odell Beckham, which I thought was a desperation move, and it turned out to be arguably the season saving move, because that guy has been on fire, to say the least. So it's going to be a crazy Super Bowl. A lot of superstars on both sides of the ball. It's going to be fun to watch.
And we got the spread 4.5. You think the Rams are covering that?
I do.
I agree. I'm on that too. So yeah. So as we get into this offseason, we'll come back with more news, and we'll talk about the free agency and what we need to sign next year. So
let's do it.
Fire the cannons. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.